Okay, first of all, I've got to say, we are doing a video conference out the 350k to clarify any question that people may have, and pretending we're in Hong Kong right now. So I'm just going to have a little bit of speech in Chinese. 即係我哋而家咧係做緊一個 conference 咧，就當係我哋喺香港咧做緊一個分享會嘅，關於 350k。OK, okay. Now let's start the questions. So for 350k for refurbishing, how would you arrange? That's what someone said. What kind of team do we have? What kind of what kind of the procedure for refurbishing?
In terms
do you meet the people after you close the deed or before you close the deed? When is this developer coming in this whole process?
Okay. The developer usually visit the property after the purchase has begun. He visit the property and give us an idea about the refurbishing costs. Give us also his opinion about what is recommendable for that property, and creates a budget, a detailed budget with the full costs and the deadlines for the renovation works. Normally, this work happens after the purchase has begun.
After, sorry?
The purchase has begun.
After the purchase?
Yes.
Okay. So after you sign a deed, basically?
The refurbishment after the deed, yes. The initial budget, the calculation of the costs and the estimated works are done previously.
Then we talk to the developer.
After the purchase begins, after the reservation agreement, for example, or the promissory contract.
Can I make a comment?
Okay, great.
Yes, please, comment.
Yeah.
Okay. I just described everything Bruno told us, but there's one thing that we should also inform, that it's possible to start the renovation before the deed. Okay. Normally, the procedures are starting the renovation after the client buy the property. Because only after buy the property, you can sign the renovation contract. This is on that time, it's the time that is the owner. It does not make sense to sign a contract before you buy the property. But there's a possibility as well. At the same time you buy the property, you sign a promissory contract. On the same contract, you also sign an agreement, or on the same contract, you also can sign a contract to start the renovation at the same time. Okay, I just said that it's also possible for the main applicant sign the contract for buying the property at the same time. Before you make the deed, you also sign the contract for refurbishing the property, and we do it start at the same time. It's also possible.
Okay. Now, I have some questions for you. For example, Carlos, is a lot of people, let's say they buy a property for 100 grand, but the refurbishing work is 250. Is it eligible?
Yes, of course. As long as
the refurbishing cost is way more than property.
Yes, it's possible.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Is it eligible?
Yes, I understand. As long as the requirements are fulfilled, doesn't matter what is most expensive. Is it the property or refurbishing? Altogether, let's have the total amount of 350. So the law does not mention that the property has to be a price and the renovation should be less. Because of that, does not mention anything of that. You can buy some property for 100,000, and if you spend 250 on the property, it's also eligible for the 350.
Okay. Now, next question is, how many departments do we have to contact to know this unit can be for 350? How many government departments do we need to contact?
This question for me or for Bruno?
Both.
Okay.
How many government?
This is a tricky question because it will depend. Sometimes you don't need to contact any department from the government. Sometimes you have to contact to be sure what you need. I'll give you a simple example, okay? You buy a property 30 years old, okay, for example, if in Aro area, okay, there's no any other information on the Aro area, it means that you just submit a simple information to the City Hall for refurbishing, and you can do it without any kind of any other document or any other information. But for example, in some
you don't need any what? You don't need any renovation contract or
no, any kind of other document from any department. Okay.
apart from it, you still have to hand in renovation contract, don't you?
Yeah, that is. You told me Department of Government, not a renovation contract, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just imagine in Lisbon, for example, or in any other cities, even on our area, some specific areas, some specific street address, they need to have a special request to the City Hall to do some working on the property, some renovation. Not all the areas, not all the addresses of the property, only few. On that one, you have to be more careful and check if it's necessary to submit any special project for renovation. If it's not necessary, we don't need to submit any other document besides the simple information to the City Hall.
Really creative questions for you guys, okay? Hong Kong people getting very creative in this. Okay. Is it possible, sorry, to do 350 if they got a rental contract already? I said it's impossible because how are you going to have a rental contract and do the refurbishment?
Yes, it's difficult because
I don't think it's possible.
If the house have a lease agreement, if there is somebody living in it, it will be very difficult to manage the renovation works.
Yeah, I would say it's for 500. Now,
yes.
Next question is for Bruno. Let's say a property, the total area is square meter 60.
Yes.
The built area is 43. So you got 17 square meter difference. So the price for the refurbishing is according to what? We mentioned how much the refurbishing is done by per square meter.
Yes.
What is it calculated on?
Usually calculated based on the gross area, excluding the balconies. Gross area. Yes, that's the calculation we use. Excluding the outside areas, the balconies. That's the method that we use.
Apart from the renovation costs for 350, any other costs that will arise that we need to think about apart from the law firm costs, any service charge?
Okay, can I answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay, the cost that you need to consider is all the costs that will be necessary to execute the renovation. If you don't need any license from the City Hall, it's just the cost of the contract of the refurbishing. If it's necessary, any license or any special information to the City Hall, any project, you have to consider that one. And the cost of the project depends on the architect and also some taxes that it's possible to happen in some City Hall to do some job, some work. That's to be simple. If you don't need any special request or any special license from the City Hall, you don't need to consider any more taxes or costs. If you need to submit any project, you have to consider some costs that probably the architect of the project will let you know.
Okay. So, question for you both. I don't know which one. The refurbishing company, what sort of qualification do they need to suit the government requirement for the application?
They must have their main activity as construction, and they must be licensed for it. Basically, it's what they need. They must have this both requirements. They need to have their license, and their main activity must be construction, civil construction.
Correct.
So they cannot be an investment company.
No, don't make sense. Don't make sense. An investment company can do other things, not renovation and build and refurbishing, not that.
So an investment company can't say, oh yeah, actually, this is what we do, and you know, we're going to apply for a contract for you.
Can invest and buy the properties and even resell, but not do the refurbishment.
Should be a specific company for that job.
Okay, and how long the refurbishing going to take? And is there any guarantee? And what is the payment process? Sorry, it's a very long question here.
Okay. Depends on how deep are the renovation works. If it is a full renovation, everything completely new inside, the time can be more extended. But I would say an average time between 3 and 4 or 5 months. I would say the average time 3 to 4 or 5 months. Depend how deep are the works. The payments, they are made by scale. Initially, the applicant, he will pay a percentage, normally something around 30%, and then the other 70% are divided in 2 or 3 more payments. In the end, there is a residual payment that it's made when the works are finished. But all this percentage of payments are adjustable according to the total budget.
That question is very difficult to answer. When you ask how long will take the renovation, it will depend on what kind of things that it will be necessary to be done and what's the size of the property. If you choose a small apartment, for example, 60 square meters or 40 or 50, probably the renovation will take less than if you choose a property with 100 square meters. And it will depend on what kind of renovation will necessary. If you just say, I just want to change the toilet and inside I want new things inside and the kitchen. But for the other hand, if you choose to change everything from a floor, the attic, the windows, it will take a long time. This is something that will depend on the renovation contract that you sign, what kind of renovation you want inside the apartment.
Okay, next question. Any guarantee for the refurbishing?
Yes, normal, all kind of jobs, even done on the construction, has a warranty done by the Portuguese civil law. Normally takes it's given by 2 years.
2 years. And I know this already, this answer, but I think we should reiterate. Do we have to pay the reconstruction cost in full to apply for 350? Or what do we have, if we don't want to pay, we want to pay installment, can we apply for golden visa?
Yes, you don't need to pay all in one time. You can pay installment. But one thing is very important is that all the money you have to make the payment for the refurbishment, you should have the funds already in your bank account, okay? Because it will be necessary, a statement from the bank attesting that you have that fund to make the payment. So you can make some installment payments and leave some part to make the final payment, and before that, you can start to go into the program.
Can I just reiterate? Let's say someone spent 100,000 on the property, and the cost, I'm just, you know, spitballing here. The cost of refurbishing is 250, and they can pay installment, like let's say 80,000 in advance, and then the rest of the money in the bank. That's still eligible, even though they really only spend 100 and something so far when they put in the paperwork, as long as their money is in the bank, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Now, I'd like to ask.
Let me just tell you one thing, sorry. That is correct, but just imagine that the refurbishing of something, some building, on the flat will not happen because it's like Bruno said, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months maximum. But just imagine you have a client buy a whole building with a lot of flats, and you're going to spend a lot of money, and the refurbishment will take 2 years, okay? For the first card, you don't need to accomplish and the full payment. But the second card, you need to have proof that you already fulfill the requirements of 350, and you have to pay the full amount for the renovation. At this moment, because the card has a validity of 2 years, it's a long time to make everything. But a few months ago, when the first card was 1 year, we had several clients that were waiting for the full payment to start. We don't need to wait start immediately. No? Okay, just one thing more to add to what Bruno said. Actually, the law does not mention how much money you have to spend on refurbishing. It says that on total amount on the property acquisition and the refurbishing. But what Bruno said, it makes sense. Nobody thinks that with 1,000 euros, for example, you can do some refurbishing on a flat. Or 1,000 euros, what? You just paint the wall. It's not making sense. I used to tell people not to spend 1,000 or 2,000 because nobody will believe that there's a lot of things to do. Nobody will believe that it is some refurbishing with 1,000 euros or 2,000 euros. Refurbishing needs to do some work on inside the flat or the house or what's the problem. Like Bruno said, easily we can spend 10,000, 15,000 on small flats for renovation. So what I tell my clients that if they have any budget, less than 10,000 can be a risk for someone to believe. Even we have a contract for refurbishing, even we have some payments of the invoice of the refurbishing, we have to consider that immigration are aware of this kind of situation and probably they can investigate if it's necessary to investigate. So not to have any problem, we may have a contract that mentions on the contract all kinds of work that we'll have to do on that property that the client buys. And on the budget refers the job, the kind of thing that is necessary, the product that is going to buy, and to install in the apartment, and easily you get 10,000, 15,000 minimum.
Okay. Now, I have a few questions regarding, okay, this is a very creative questions again. Can someone do mortgages? Sorry, already cannot, I don't know. But on a different, let's say the bill, like the construction costs more than 350,000. Anything extra? Do you think they can get mortgages for that extra 50,000 on reconstruction, Bruno? Have you got any experience on that?
It's not common, but it's possible.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, if I well understood, you mean the cost of purchase purchase of the property and the refurbishing. It's 400. If it is possible to get some amount in mortgage, like 50,000.
That's 50,000. Yeah.
Yes, it is possible because the main thing is the investment of 350 in total, including the renovation works. It is possible. If there isn't yet a connection with the Portuguese banks, sometimes it could be more difficult to get a loan. With the relationship started, it's getting more easier. But basically, it is possible. We just need to ask the bank for it.